We are going to be looking at all these different I can statements. This is kind of what our whole unit is. We're not going to be doing all of this today. So today our main thing is the two-way tables and recording their frequencies in our data. So a two-way table usually is a bivariate. Bivariate meaning how many variables? Two variables, right? So when you think of that, what bivariate just really means is that it just means that you have two variables. So we have two variables. In this one, we are looking at categorical, right? So we're talking about males and females, and they were surveyed. If you could have a new vehicle, would you want a sports utility vehicle, so an SUV, or would you want a sports car? So they surveyed both male and female. This is telling us how many people total were surveyed. So when you're trying to find out how many people were surveyed, this is our total number surveyed, okay? We can tell that 21 males, 39 chose the SUV, 39 chose sports car, and if you add those together, you get this total 60. So a lot of times you're going to be adding, or you'll be given some of these numbers in the table, and you'll have to figure out the rest. Again, when they surveyed, they're telling us that 135 females chose the SUV, 45 chose a sports car. Again, you added going across, those to get 180, and you add going down to get our totals, okay? When you think of columns, so this is the column totals, columns go down. So when you're talking about a column, just like out in front of a house, a column goes down. And when we are talking about going across, these are our rows. So you're going to be asked to find relative frequency by the row and by the column, so you need to make sure you understand that vocabulary, okay? So it says, here's how we look at a two-way table in reading our information. The table shows data from a survey of 50 adults. They had to pick their favorite leisure activity, dancing, sports, TV. So as we look at this table for information, how many women like sports? 6. How many men like TV? 8, right? So we're going to go men, TV, 8. Okay. How many people like dance? 18. So we're going to go to our total down there, right? So the 18 that we are looking at. So looking at the total of the 3 activities, which activity is the most popular? Dance. Are they all pretty equal? Yeah, probably pretty equal, right? We would say yes, they are pretty equal as we are looking at. And it says, is there a difference between what men liked and women liked? Yes. So women was, if we were looking at, women was dance, right? Definitely. And men was, if we were looking at what they liked, they preferred, if we were looking at it, sports and TV, pretty equal, right? TV, sports, if we are looking at men. But now, if we look at this, here we have the women at 16, right? And the men, if we were asked which one they preferred, it actually is sports, right? Not TV. Because we're not looking at the total. We're looking at which one the men chose more of, right? And they 10 compared to 8. So this should be sports for this one, if we look at that, okay? It says all these numbers in this table, if we are looking at this is called our frequency. So these are the frequencies. They are just simply the numbers actually, like when they surveyed the people. So those are called our frequencies, if you would write that down. We should have our total back here being 23. We should have, going back this way, I should have 7. And now we can total going down. So 23 and 12 gives me 5, 11. And I need to check that the 24 plus 11 does equal 35. So once you're given your information, which in this one was the 7, the 6, the 12, when you're given that information, then you want to fill in the rest of it is what you're going to be looking at as you do your homework tonight. The key thing that I often have students struggle with is what to put for your 2 categories. So on your homework quiz when we take one tomorrow, the question is, sometimes it'll say we're going to do chores and allowance, and they'll put chores, allowance, no chores, no allowance. You have to keep the same titles together. So if you're doing chores, chores and no chores, allowance and no allowance. So on that next one, I've set these next 2 up for you. We want to take a look. 8 people have no dog. So if we are filling that one in, Where, if I am looking at this one with the 8 have no dog, I'm going to go down to the no dog, and that's going to be my total 8. It says, of those 8, 2 have no cat. So under the no dog, I have to fill in this 2 for the no cat, correct? There are 4 people with a cat and a dog. Cat and a dog, that's my 4. And 3 students have a dog and no cat. So have a dog, no cat is going to be our 3. So right now, you should be able to fill in the other numbers by adding and subtract. Total down here for dogs are 7. 7 plus 8 gives us 11. 15 total. 3 plus 2 gives us a 5. So I do know now by taking 15 minus 5, this has to be 10. And 10 minus 4 gives me 6. 4 plus 6 is 10. 6 plus 2 is 8. So I always need to check that my columns are going to add up going down, and that my rows are going to add going across to give me those totals. So the next one down, I want you to try that one. So as you are trying this next one, 25 students are surveyed. 14 students do not participate in sports. 7 do not take a foreign language. 6 take a foreign language and play sports. This 14 is going to give us 11. 11 minus 6 to give me the 5 of no foreign language. 5 to add to give me 7 has to be 2. So now I can take 14 minus 2 to figure this one out, which should be 12. And I can add going down and get 18, and 18 plus 7, those give me 25, and 11 plus 14. So going back up to this one, how many people total were surveyed? This should have been 15 people, right? That's my total down here. This one says how many students take a foreign language and play no sports. So if we're looking at foreign language with no sports, we should have 12, right? Okay. So the first part, that's the first few questions in your homework, are going to go look like that. Then we get into what's called our relative frequencies. Okay. So if you are reading at the top, Brody, would you start us off where it says a relative frequency table?
A relative frequency table uses percent to describe the data instead of regular numbers.
Keep going.
This can be done 3 ways. First way is by using the total for the whole table. Here's an example using the data from earlier in the note.
So when we are looking at this way, so this was our males and females that were surveyed and our total. Then we have this star here in the triangle. What we are doing is we are always dividing by the 240 in this because it's the relative frequency of the whole table. And you need to know the total, right? And in our original problem, it was 240 people surveyed. So what you're going to do is you just go back to that original problem, and you're dividing every single one of these numbers, 21 by 240. And then you're going to take 39 by 2, and you're going to divide every single cell by 240. That was our total. That's what that means when we are finding that relative frequency. It says in the two-way table relative frequency for the whole table, each entry in the table is divided by the total count, which is found in the lower right corner. The ratio 1, or 100%, occurs only in the cell for the lower right corner. This is the only one for 100% when we do the whole frequency. You'll see that when we do the column and the row, you're going to have some other 100%. You'll have it come up more often. It says in each of the main body or blue cells, try to tell you a percentage of the people surveyed that gave a response based on the total number of people. So what does the star mean if we are looking at that? That is trying to tell us that we are looking at, what I want you to write down, is 16%. We usually write it as a percent instead of decimal, but I would take 0.16 also. But usually we change that decimal to a percent. So 16% of everyone surveyed was a male who liked sports utility vehicles. And it is really important as you're writing these out, because on this test it's really important how you explain what that percentage means. That triangle, if we look at it, that was our 65% of everyone surveyed liked SUVs the best, right? But that's of everyone that we surveyed, and it's all these people that liked it. Whereas this was 16%. Everyone who surveyed, they had to meet two categories. Male who liked sports cars. Does that make sense? So how we write that is really important, and I'll give you a minute. Keep going. So this time, we are looking at the totals in the back of each column. So originally we are dividing all the males, because we only surveyed 60 males. We surveyed 3 times as many females, right, in this one, the 60 to 180. We surveyed 180 females, so we have to divide all those female responses by 180. And our total surveyed at the bottom. What do you notice as you add these 2% going across is they have to add to 100%, right? 0.35 plus 0.65 adds to 100%. 0.75 plus 0.25 adds to 100%. 0.65 plus 0.35 adds to 100%. So it says in the two-way relative frequency is by the rows. In each entry, the row of the table is divided by the total for that row. You'll see the ratio of 1 or 100% occurs going all the way down here. This is an example when we choose the row method. So in your homework, you're going to be asked to find the row and the total and the column. So the row, what does that star mean? That star is telling us 35% of men. So you're writing this one down. This is different than the last one, right? 35% of the men. Why? Because the total at the back was 60, and we're dividing by the row, and that's the total men. So we're taking the total men like SUVs. Whereas down here, when we look at that triangle one, we are talking about 35% of everyone like sports vehicles or sports cars. Okay? And if you wanted to think of looking at other ones in this, so like if we wanted to look at this one, this would be 25% of all females said that sports cars were their favorite. If I was looking at this one, I would read this as 75% of all women said their favorite vehicle was sports utility. So how you write this part of it, of who you're talking about, is really important when we do these problems, okay? So as we take a look, Emily, you want to read for us?
Sure. Another way to make a relative frequency table is to calculate the numbers based on the column total. This gives us different information than when we calculate the relative frequencies using the table total or using the total total.
So again, this way, two-way column represents it. Our entries, we are dividing the entries in each column, and the table is divided by the total of the column. So the total down here was 156. We divide everything here by 156. Here, our total was 84 people that chose sports cars, so we're dividing everything by 84. And here, we're dividing all of these. So again, where do you notice the 100% at the bottom of each column, okay? So that's going to be kind of key when we do that. So it says choose a method. If we choose a column method, we're comparing SUVs to a sports car in relation to the gender. So this is kind of telling you how to write your answer when we are looking at that. So if we are looking at the star is telling us, how can we word that? We're going to say 54% of what? 54% of people who like the sports car. So we're looking at total people, right? So both male and female, could you say that? Yes. So 54% of female who like sports cars were female. So the people that chose sports car, we're talking about those that were female, which is 54%. The triangle here is telling us, if we look at that we are talking about 25% of people surveyed were male. So they surveyed a lot more women in this than men. So that could be the reason maybe that sports cars were less than SUVs, right? If they would have surveyed the same number, maybe it would have came out 50-50. So a lot of times when you're presented with information, this is a way a company can just say, oh, people surveyed, right? And then they can give you kind of misleading percentages, so news media can use this in different ways. Depending if we use this one with a column, right? Here, look how different those percentages are when we did the row and when we looked at the total, how different our percentages were, right? So as a statistician and you're reporting something, you can slant it sometimes however you'd like to fit what you're trying to promote or get people to do or to think about. So you really want to be careful when you are looking at statistics and how they are measured. There is now at the high schools, there's an AP stats class that a lot of students are taking after their advanced math because it is a skill and a class that we use in many classes. So here's this next one. It says here's a two-way table to show audiences at a movie theater. So we got our male and female, we got our total, we got children and adults, and we are looking at that. And it says calculate the frequency. Some are by the whole table, some are by the row, some are by the column. So if we are going to look at the percentage of children at movies that were male, what two numbers should I be dividing? 15 by 39. Because they're looking at that we're male. So 15 divided by 39 gives us a percentage of 39%. We're going to round it. Okay? Please make sure you put behind that what we divided. Because on your homework, that is what I'm going to ask you to do, not just give me the percentage. So next we're going to look at percentage of females at the movie that were adults. So I should be dividing by, if I'm looking at this, 54. We're adults. We're adults. Total adults, 54. And now that we're females, we're going to divide, we're going to go to our females, right, of that, which were 30. And 30 divided by 54 in your calculator gives us. Isn't it more closer to 57?
No, it's 0.55.
0.5, huh? Was it 56?
Yeah.
56. Okay. So, we're adults. If we are looking at it, males, of the males that were adults. We're going to divide this time 24 by 39. 24 by 39.
We have to do more adults. We have to be 54 because it's 4 adults.
So should we have had this one of females be 53?
Yeah.
30 by 53.
Yeah.
30 by 53 to give us the 50, if we are looking at that. 30 divided by 53 gives us 57. Sorry. 53. Thank you. So this one, of adults, right? If we're looking at of our adults, percentage of adults at the movie that were female. So the question is, are we dividing by the 53 or the 54? We should be dividing this case by the 54. And we are dividing 30 by 54. Because we're looking at of our adults, so we need the adult total. And we should have now 56. 55, 56. The last one, it says of the people, which means we are talking about dividing by 92. What are we dividing by 92? The children, which were 38 total. And we should have 41. Okay. So, when you are looking at the of, right, the of is trying to tell you what you are, in this case, dividing by when you are taking a look at that. Now, your homework.